This is a spoiler warning for the series Invincible. I advise you check it out because I'm going to be talking about the comics and the first season of the show that just came out. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video if you're going to ignore that, and yeah. Invincible is one of my favorite comic book properties outside of Marvel and DC. I love Spider-Man with all my heart, but Invincible is still incredible and just as special to me. I have more or less been a fan since 2016 while the series was still ongoing before it ended early 2018 with a satisfying ending. Only a little after the time the comic ended, Amazon announced that they were doing an animated series for it, which I have been waiting for ever since it got announced. After waiting nearly 3 years for the series to come out, it's finally here. Amazon Prime's Invincible was written by the Walking Dead creator Robert Kirkman and drawn by Cory Walker in 2003. It may have started off as a normal superhero comic, but by the time issue 7 came out is when things officially started going crazy for the series. Invincible's comic run is a wild ride where a lot of things that you don't expect happen and amazing fights that were drawn by Ryan Ottley, one of my favorite comic book artists that also worked on Nick Spencer's amazing Spider-Man run for a short time. Without Ryan Ottley, we wouldn't have amazing choreographed fights or art that would make the series pop out even more throughout its 144 issue run. I recommend that you read throughout the comic because it's just so amazing consistently throughout. Anyways, onto the show. I did have high expectations while being very excited for the series to see how things are going to be adapted. Then it finally came out and I feel relieved that this is one of my favorite comic book adaptations already. Invincible honestly set a brand new bar on what I want for more comic book adaptations. I like how it still more or less adapts everything in the comic while just skipping some issues that were a tiny bit filler and would put in later issues that would work well in its 8-episode season. It's just more proof you can still do a sort of loose one-on-one adaptations for these things and make it work while changing some of the order and adding more things onto it. You don't have to rush out adapting the good stories or moments as soon as possible. You still have to make it where it makes sense and have that character reach that development to where it was like that in the story, because of how the character reacts to the conflict during the time of their development would feel more rewarding and just as special, if not more, than how the comic handled the story, if you get what I mean. I'm honestly glad that they made the Nolan fight the finale for this season. It's a big game changer for where the series heads off and leaves the characters at a place where things will be different forever. In season 2, we're gonna see how this affects Mark's world even more with new characters that will make him view what he really is doing and test his ideals even more. Mark is honestly one of my favorite characters next to Peter Parker. He's not the perfect superhero, nor was he ever. He's a guy with superpowers doing what he thinks is right throughout. He really does try his best, even though you might see him fail a lot more given how big his enemies get in the future. He's gonna go through a lot of things that are gonna conflict him and what he does after that in response to that moment. I love his character development throughout the series and how we see him grow from a high school senior to a fully adult man willing to help his family no matter what. But he does do things that you may not agree with at first glance down the road, which I need to mention that you're not going to agree with all the things the characters in Invincible will do. Most of their decisions might have to make you think about it even more from their perspective. This will happen even more during the third quarter of the series. And with season 1 ending with a conflicted Mark already after what his dad has done to him and the whole city of Chicago being destroyed, I really want to see how that plays out for this version of the character while encountering a specific villain that we'll see next season.
I'm scared, Dad. What if I can't do this?
This is the beginning of a long journey for you and me. Along the way, you're going to need to do things you don't want to do, or might not think you can do. You're a Viltrumite. We have responsibilities that normal humans don't.
I want to do what you do. I want to be just like you.
You will be, son. You will.
I'm glad that the show was able to handle one thing that the comic wasn't really able to do well fully during the beginning of the series, and that was to showcase the family dynamic and relationship of the Graysons. It makes it hit even harder on how you see throughout the series that they are a good family, so when Nolan did all the things that he did throughout the finale, it just ultimately breaks them. We basically start the series showing a well-functioning family that has a good relationship with each other, only for it to end up being broken with no clear future on how things will go for them. I really enjoyed Debbie in this adaptation a lot more than I thought it would. Compared to the comic version I've heard, this one felt more involved in the Nolan killing the Guardians investigation. In the comics, her character just felt like she just merely existed until issue 12 of the series, which was the big Nolan fight. I was glad when reading the comic, Kirkman later on in future issues gave her character more of a purpose and importance in the story, and it makes it seem like he wanted Debbie to have more involvement in the show's beginning, which I do like a lot. In addition to that, Nolan's character is something I honestly prefer in the show a lot more too. His whole demeanor was intimidating after the ending of the first episode, and I'm glad throughout the season we were still able to see this relationship with Mark even more than how the comic did in the beginning too. Throughout the first season, every episode I just kept thinking whenever they focus on the Grayson family, like, man, the season finale is really gonna hit hard, which they obviously did. Along with that relationship with the family, we were able to focus on the side characters like Eve and Robot just as much, which is a clear advantage of being able to do 40+ minute episodes. By the way, Robot is always a character that you need to pay attention to, and one of the best characters in the series too. I'm surprised that they decided to use the moment where Rudy gets a body this early in the series, which makes me wonder what plot points from later issues will they put into stuff like season 2. Eve is still a character that will continue to grow along with Mark in the future seasons, which might lead to one of your favorite characters too. Well, it's time to talk about the internet's most controversial character in the show, with that being Amber, and I find her fine. Actually, she's not one of my favorite characters in the series, but like, she was always that character that served her purpose in the story for me, so I never really cared that deeply about her. The moment that ruined her honestly was just episode 7's beginning, when Mark told her his secret identity, and with the surprise that she knew this whole time, which in the comic that was a totally different scenario. I get what they were trying to do with Amber by making her different, which I personally prefer the show's version much more than the comic version since she has more character than her, but it really made her break up with Mark in episode 6 just made her seem like a selfish person, given the fact that she knew. But at the end of the day, it's both of their faults that the relationship ended up being bad. Mark constantly never made any improvements on his superhero life or regular life, which is always coming down to him being late multiple times with Amber and not having enough time to spend time with her, which I get is something for her to be upset about, but like I said earlier, her reaction to it felt more selfish given she knew Mark was invincible for a couple weeks prior. Anyways, I still don't really hate Amber. Her writing was inconsistent after episode 7, but she'll be gone by season 3 and we'll see Mark with someone better.
Son, kids your age think they're invincible, and it holds them back, makes them careless. The thing is, you're different. You actually are invincible.
I just love this series, and I feel like this is more what we need from adaptations, and I'm all for it. So Marvel, can you make a Spider-Man TV show with DeMatteis writing it while making a 40+ minute episode series that is able to flesh out Peter's character fully and that we have seen throughout this run from Ditko to JMS, please? I'm just so happy we got all this, and the future is going to be greater for the series given the epic fights, more character developments, more of the villains that were introduced in season 1 having more of an involvement in the future of the series, and more moments where you think about the morality of some characters, whether they are right or wrong. Trust me when I say this, if you think Invincible is crazy right now, you're not ready. Before I head out, I just want to say one more thing. The meaning of Invincible means too powerful to be defeated or overcome. Even though Mark gets beat up a lot of times and loses a ton no matter what, he'll still overcome it and get back truly living up to his name. And